Ladies and gentlemen, nerds and neckbeards, welcome to another edition of
the Westeros,
Wheneverly,
with Dave and Tana. Hi, Dave.
Yeah, actually, I guess technically it's Wheneverly with Dave and Tana.
And also, if you search for my name and like Tana Ford podcast, it doesn't come up because we're listed as Dave and Tana. So I make it extra hard for people to find my content online because that's how you do. Hi, David. How are you after the most recent episode?
Oh, I liked it. I did, but I also was a little upset.
I loved it. And can I just, before we start, can I just tell you what I'm drinking tonight?
Oh, yes, please. Tell us what we're drinking tonight.
I am drinking the salty, briny tears of all the little whiny bitch babies that hated this episode.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I am
your
like,
tears are so salty, yes.
I'm bathing in it. Oh, it's delicious. It's so sour. All these dudes are so sour. Oh, no.
And by what is the mixture of said tears?
So I am drinking a very hoppy local IPA from West Palm Beach Brewery called Coastal Elite, which I think is also very on brand since this little Coastal Elite is feeling superior to everyone because I loved this episode and I cannot wait to talk about it, David. What are you drinking, my friend?
I'm
hard
drinking
side eye.
I'm drinking water.
Oh, buddy, you're killing me over here. I mean, it's okay.
I know.
I'm sure we have fans that don't drink, are sober for whatever their choice is.
I have to get up early, a little extra early tomorrow. Right. So and it's already kind of late, so I'm just being good.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that I was at a wedding last weekend and had a little too much to drink. And then this weekend I'm going to another wedding.
Dang, 'tis the season.
'Tis the season indeed.
Are you super proud of me that I was able to stitch together our episode from last week?
I am extremely proud of you. When I was leaving and you sent me the text like, hey, did you upload this thing yet? I was like, oh shit, I gotta do that. So I sat down in front of my computer and the files weren't uploaded. Not the one extra file that I needed wasn't uploaded. And then you left me.
I know.
And then as I'm in the car, like halfway to the airport, I get or not halfway, maybe a quarter of the way, I get a text that says, okay, I'm gonna try to do this.
You know what I was doing? I was drilling my own box. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. I was drilling my own Dungeons and Dragons custom-made dice box. And so I had my Dremel tool going, and I was kind of in the sort of sculpture zone. And then I was like, I haven't heard back from Dave. Hey, that sounded like something interesting, my friend. What did you just open?
It's just a Coke.
It's something. All right, let's jump into this. The long night. We open with absolute
Samwell.
Yeah, and like silence for 10 minutes essentially. Like there's just that calm before the storm. And because we closed out last week's episode with, the dead horse and the lines of the army of the dead all queued up. And now we're here. And it's going real slow, and Sam kind of shakily takes his 2 daggers, and then we just kind of pan around the castle and check in on everyone. Nobody can see shit. It's all pitch black out there. We've got the army.
Speaking of nobody seeing shit, general consumption. That's kind of like one of my pet peeves about this episode, and a lot of people are griping about it.
Yeah, they are, and I can't wait to tell them why they're wrong.
It was a little bit hard to see and to watch.
Okay, it's supposed to be dark as fuck. And also, they do that there's like a red suffused light over everything. It should feel hellish. You should feel claustrophobic and trapped and surrounded by like fire and brimstone and ashes raining down from the sky, which is really snow. Like it is the hell on earth. That's what this is supposed to feel like, and it's
but
supposed
it takes
to feel
away
close.
from seeing bodily features. You know.
There were so many close-ups, and I know this for a fact because my girlfriend squeaked or every single time she saw a brain explode or blood spatter, which happened every fucking second. Like, people,
It did.
there was a
It did.
ton
You're right.
of very close, like, detailed, sharp instruments through heads and faces, decapitations, limbings, like people falling off buildings. A lot of gore. There was a lot of that shit.
On the first watch through, which was last night, the first thing that went through my mind was, I wonder if they spent too much money on CGI, so they couldn't spend enough money on like the Army of the Dead makeup and stuff. And then definitely on the second rewatch, I was like, no, you can clearly see they went all out.
They went all out, man.
You saw, I 100% agree with that statement. You definitely saw like decapitations and like the daggers going through chins, like with the Arya scene.
And it wasn't like you saw expressions on faces change when the sword goes through the jaw and comes out the other side. Like, you see that shocked look. It's not just a practical effect or, cheesy CGI. They did a really great job, and it's this intimate fighting. And so I think that the stuff that these little whiny bitches are complaining about online is just like, I'm over here sipping my tea, sipping my salty, briny tears of all these haters. Excuse me, it was bad writing in the show. Have you been watching this show for 8 years? Hello, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. It's always had bad writing.
But there were actually, like, I wonder how much of it is, like, I wonder how much of the people, how much is flying under the radar of a lot of these fans. Because you have, like, Jon is supposed to be the white knight savior hero guy, right? But he doesn't get to be the dude that has the big heroic moment. Dany is the one on the dragon actually saving people and doing a thing.
And I think they did that. They did that definitely for a reason.
Yes.
I mean, they
Melisandre's
are
a hero.
going
like,
to.
The women are stepping up. Every time we check in on Jaime and Brienne, they're saving each other. Like, they are slashing through meat. I read some complaint about how, like, oh, I guess they're just lost in bodies or whatever. No, bitch. Every time we check in on these two characters, Jaime is saving Brienne, or Brienne is saving Jaime, or they're fighting back to back. Like, I'm here for that. That's what, as a book reader, you want solid content and good writing, go to the books. You want to see Jaime and Brienne fuck some shit up and make a mess of zombies? Watch this episode of the show. I am here for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Clap your hands and drink your tears of the complainers, because that
so
was
sour. They're so bitter and delicious. They're filling me up right now.
What did you think of Melisandre just like showing up out of nowhere?
I mean, so I thought I expected her. One of the things we called last week was that she was going to be here. It wasn't the way that I thought she would re-enter the story, but I liked the way that she re-entered the story. This woman slow rolls every fucking thing. Like, she has one speed, and it's just like impulse power. Like, that bitch didn't hurry a single scene. She was just like trotting up on her horse super slow, lighting that fire on the sword super slow, lighting the fire in the trench down to the last minute. And it seemed like, she's got a zombie. She's saying all the words. It's not working. She's looking left. She's looking right. All the zombies are coming over the wall. And she's still saying the prayer, and it's not working. And then the zombie's in her face, and it finally works. And you know what I thought? The red god saved her, right? Like, that's when he answered her prayer. I wonder if that's what they were going for.
That's an interesting thought, because that's not the first time that we see her like visibly shaken and questioning her faith, right? The first time is Stannis dies and his army is destroyed, and then she says to Davos, like, I've never brought anyone back before. Like, who knows if this is possible, when he asks her to bring back Jon.
Yep.
And then I thought that we were going to see her come back super confident and super, like, stoic. And we kind of do get that a little bit.
She's like even keel. Like, she doesn't really get rattled.
Except in that scene, though, right? Because she comes back and she's like, do you speak their tongue? Mm-hmm. Tell them to raise their swords. I'll light them on fire, right?
And Jorah, there's a nice moment where they kind of wait, right? Like, Jorah, the whole army is there, and this one woman walks out of the woods, right, and goes up to Ser Jorah and is like, hey, do you speak their language? And he's just like, there's this surreal moment of like, is this happening? And he kind of takes a minute, and he's like, yeah, all right, lift your swords up, and he says the thing. But they did a good job of just giving me those little hesitating moments. Give me that heartbeat between characters. Let me watch Ser Jorah make that decision and then do the thing, right? Because so much of it is about making decisions and at what point the plan changes and how you react to different things. And so they started us out from that moment. I loved it.
What's your thought on the Dothraki horde charging the blackness, right?
Oh, I have thoughts. So, where the fuck are the dragons on that? How are you not Jon and Daenerys leading the charge with your dragons? You know what makes light? Fire.
Yes. So here's my thought. When I first saw that, I'm like, why the fuck are they charging to begin with? And I think a lot of people were like, why even charge them? You just literally just wasted all your Dothraki.
Sure did.
And I'll tell you why. Tell me
why.
Because the Dothraki are not trained Westerosi soldiers. They do not sit in a line. They do not stay back and fight with spears and stuff. Yep. Literally, there's a reason why Bobby B says, don't fight the Dothraki in an open field. Only a fool would do that, because literally they're proficient in riding people down. Yes. They don't sit back and wait. They're not defensive. Yep. So I think if you want to use your Dothraki in any way, you have to use it like that. However,
I think that they're intended to be a wedge. I think, everyone is sort of sick of waiting at that point, right? Like something needs to happen. And so they just kind of go. It is pure insane bullshit that both Dany and Jon are not on their dragons, like leading the charge. There
was a plan. The plan was to bait the Night King out on his dragon to go to Bran.
You don't have to go very far. Yeah, you don't have to go very far from the castle to protect it and to protect all of your people. The thing that I find galling is that Bran. What they're telling me is that Bran's life is worth more than every other living person alive combined. And I can't accept that, and it seems like Dany can't accept it.
Well, obviously you're right, because Bran's life isn't worth it, but the three-eyed raven, creepy starey at your family.
Okay. All right. So let's say that he's got all of the history of the entire humanity. How is he using that? So he wargs at one point. Bran wargs into all those ravens and goes and does some reconnaissance on the Night King, right? Like he's like, I'm gonna go check him out, whatever. I'm gonna go, and we fly and we see the Night King finally, and he's flying on his dragon and he's heading in. Okay, great. Does Bran wake up and tell people? Does he do anything with this information? Bran just stays tuned out in watching TV all day and like not doing anything.
That's a trivia. Like
come on, really man. Good. Like, he's just out. I heard somebody on Twitter be like, when Theon's in the werewood trying to talk to Bran, Bran's just like, gotta go now. And it's just kind of like if you're working and your coworker comes in and you don't want to talk to them, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of in the middle of a thing. I gotta get back to this. And he just unplugs.
I really gotta answer this call.
There's two people in there. It's the end of the world, man. You don't have any other things to say to Theon. Oh my God, he's just avoiding him. So if the premise is that Bran's the most important, the three-eyed raven is the most important thing in the universe, I can get behind that. But that one guy is not more important than every other living thing. And those two dragons could have stayed nice and tight on the castle, especially maybe not for the Dothraki charge. Okay, maybe I would have still had my dragon way out there leading the charge, because if the Night King attacks, you've got two dragons to one. Both of your dragons are together, and you can flank the dragon and get him out of the sky, and then the two of you can just mow down all of the undead, because nobody can touch you from the sky now. And then you just zig and zag, baby. You just burn up that fucking undead army until there's nothing left. That's what you do. And so the rank cowardice of them standing by while the Dothraki die for them and the Unsullied die for them. And I have to say, David, I can't not see the fact that those are the black and brown people here. Like, those guys are the first. They're the foreigners.
Oh, no.
And they're the first to die, right? Like, I don't think David and Dan are doing this kind of political whatever, the visuals of this on purpose. Like, aren't they the guys that also wanted to do the Confederate show on HBO or something? And it got like, I know, I'm not going to open that box, David, but I'm just saying,
Tana,
Dany is out there. Dany is like, we got to protect them. And Jon's like, maybe we'll just hang back. Maybe we'll just let the Unsullied get this one. Bran's in there. Bran's in the house.
But Dany doesn't do that. Dany jumps on her dragon and goes flying out there, and she starts lighting shit up, and then she almost fucking dies for it, and almost gets Jon killed too.
Is this how you see that scene? Because I watched it again and I was like, okay, who makes the mistake here? She doesn't almost get Jon killed. Jon gets them both fucking lost.
Well, I mean, they get fucking lost in the breeze of winter, right? And then they're like. By the way, beautiful cinematography here. Even if it was like all CGI, but just like up in the clouds, with the moonlight and the two dragons just kind of floating there.
You know the book theory that they're all like meteors or the moon exploded and there's like 1,000 stars. I think getting just that backdrop,
eggs or whatever,
getting the backdrop of the moon and all of the stars in the sky and that sort of like eerie peacefulness with just the dragons. The visuals of the dragons flying were beautifully done. That blue dragon is fierce.
Yes, very much so.
But I can't understand that. It's just absurd, right? And everyone's like, well, okay, you have to neutralize the dragon threat. If you have 2 dragons, then like no war can ever be won because they're nuclear bombs, right? Like they're I don't know, flying assault spaceships or whatever. But to have them stay back, the premise for them to stay back, the sort of honeypot, it ends up working out in the end, just not in the way they thought it would. It ends up trapping the Night King. So I guess there's some logic to it, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, everyone died. So think about when...
Well, everyone didn't die. That's the fucking problem, right?
Not our main characters.
And this is something that actually, I think it's actually a little like Game of Thronesy. They are known for killing main characters, right? Anyone could die at any moment.
Yep.
And in the scene where everyone, all the fans, all the watchers are expecting all of our main characters to basically die, for the most part, they all fucking live.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like they kind of flipped it on its head that way. We were wrong about Lyanna Mormont living. Yes, it turns out they will kill a 10-year-old in heroic fashion. Okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, a very heroic fashion.
What did you think? Do you think they pulled that off?
I think they pulled it off. I mean, she's one of the smallest, but fiercest in the show, and she kills one of the largest creatures known to man. I mean, I think it was very, little juxtapositionized or whatever the fuck that word is, right? Juxtaposed together, right?
Is a good addition on the end there. It's like it makes it a mayonnaise.
Azed, right? Yeah, it's like a mayonnaise. It's like juxtapanazed. What do you want in your sandwich? Let me get some of that juxtapadaise, please. And so the other thing about that too is I watched the end, like the after, like behind the scenes.
Yeah,
thing.
I did too.
And D&D said something really kind of interesting, which was she was supposed to be a 1-episode character.
That answers the question.
She was supposed to be just like one and done. There you go. Thanks. And like the fan reaction to her was so strong that they were like, well, I guess we gotta keep her around.
And they themselves were so impressed with her that they wanted to keep her around after meeting the actor behind it. And I was like, oh, okay, here's this thing that never made sense. Why would the writers make these choices that don't make sense and then do this other thing? Like, spend so much time, ignore all the characters that are more developed in the books, and then develop out of whole cloth this character. Like, it never sat for me. And she's 10, and then for them to say, oh, we were blown away by this performance and this person, so we continued with her because she was such a good addition, clicked. That's all I needed. Like, that was okay. Yeah, like, all right, I can understand why a 10-year-old
they can't tell you
continue.
They can't tell you that like in the story. It would completely ruin it. So I mean, Tana's like over here complaining like, oh, why they pick her? Why didn't they just tell me that from the beginning?
This 10-year-old, I can't with this. Oh, but dude, I am like, this is it gives me life. Like this whole episode, start to finish, there were quiet moments when Arya is in the library and Kirsten is like, it's the Velociraptor all over again, because we've been traumatized by Jurassic Park.
Yep. Can we talk about Arya?
She did so good.
There's two things I want to talk about Arya.
Lay it on me.
One, I'm a little disappointed. They made kind of this big deal about this fucking weapon, and you see it for all of like 10 seconds.
Yeah, but
right?
And then
like,
but you see it and it's wonderful. So she's like, she goes ninja. The timing of it is really great. So we see that weapon and we see Arya right after Sandor Clegane has broken. Like he's doing his PTSD thing. They've just lit the trenches and he is like, he's seeing the zombies come over the wall and he is out, and Beric Dondarrion is trying to pull him back in and be like, hey man, snap out of it. We need you. Sandor says, don't you get it? This is death.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. And he says this. One of the complaints is that there isn't any foreshadowing, that the Arya killing the Night King doesn't have any payoff. And I will say two things about that. One,
that's bullshit.
Yeah, in this episode alone,
there's foreshadowing.
Yeah,
yep.
This conversation between Beric Dondarrion and Sandor. Sandor says, don't you get it? Their death, no one can kill death. And Beric says she doesn't think so, and points up to Arya, and the music changes and it gets that like energetic heroic swell, and she starts doing her karate bullshit up on the ramparts, and that pulls Sandor out of his PTSD moment. But no one can kill death. No one, right? Come on, man.
I know.
She's fucking no one. No one can kill death. Is. And so
no one can.
Even in the own episode, there's this foreshadowing. Oh, and then the second thing I want to say is that there is a nice unity, for me personally, one of the things I enjoy is that the cat's paw dagger, which was sent to kill Bran in the first season, at the outset, saves him. Yes. Yep. The dagger that we began with now ends it. So I just feel like
huge, more foreshadowing than that. We see when Sam is going through books in the Citadel, or it's either the Citadel. Yeah, I think it's the Citadel. He opens up one and he's reading about the Dragonglass, and there's a fucking drawing of the cat's paw dagger. Nice. I mean, it's even more like foreshadowing from even earlier on. And I mean, I think it's a great. I think Arya did. So what I wanted to say is, I think she's the best fighter in Westeros.
Yep, agreed.
I think she. I don't think they're gonna ever. I don't know if they'll ever outright say that, but she, I think, definitely is like could beat anyone. Yep. Like number one.
Yep.
Which is impressive to begin with, and two, like I said before, I wanted to see more of that weapon and see I wanted to see it be like special, right? Because the way she presented it to Gendry was like, can you make this really fancy and hard thing to make besides like just trying to flirt and take her shirt off? But I mean,
she does kill a stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks of zombies with it. Like at a certain point,
does.
At a certain point, your weapon runs out of bullets, right? Like at a certain time, you get overrun with the dead horde and have to steal a dagger off a dead body. Yes, David.
Tana, staffs don't have bullets.
I
know.
She only got so many shots with it.
I know you're anti-gun, but you should probably learn how they work first. Before judging them.
My super lefty liberal, super queer politics are on display here. I'm like, women,
guys,
check. Protect the people, check. The working class matters, check. Sorry, John, you can't stay alone in your castle and protect your one little brother.
You know, that was actually my main gripe with Endgame, but maybe that's a different discussion.
I haven't seen it. No spoilers. No spoilers. No spoilers. Don't you dare. Oh, good Lord. Don't you dare. Yeah, David. Oh, this is so good. Oh, man.
Must drink.
Nice. I really got to work on my sound effect.
Yeah. What was that? Was that an Altoids case?
Yeah, I have like a little Altoids. Oh my God. Because I don't have usually. So I've had 2 glasses in my room that I can clink together for the sound effect, but now this is all I have. No. It's a little hollow. Oh man. What else? Okay, so what else did we miss? Jaime and Brian. I'm here for that all day. I like that nobody
we don't
really
see a
died.
lot of we don't see a lot of like
died.
Tormund, which is
Did he survive?
sad.
Do we know if he survived?
I think he survived.
But we
I
don't
don't-
know for sure because I was like
I don't know if we
peeking
should
at
sure.
some of the bloody, hairy faces, the like beards.
Yeah, there definitely was a couple scenes where he's fighting.
Yep.
But I don't remember. Like here's my pretty much hard and fast rule when it comes to TV shows.
Okay.
If you don't see the body,
Yeah.
they're probably
Speaking
not
of,
dead
so Ghost runs out with the Dothraki
and doesn't come back.
It doesn't come back, but we've seen him in a coming up next week thing, I think.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so he is alive still. Ghost is not dead.
Okay.
Ghost is alive.
Here's my thought about that too: is why the hell would Ghost be running with the Dothraki?
I mean,
Like,
he's savage. He's ready to get in it. He's in it to win it.
but I feel like he'd be chilling back with like Sam. You know, like he'd be fighting with Sam and Dolorous
No,
Ed,
man,
not
like,
with Jorah
Jon-
and the Dothraki, who just showed up out of nowhere.
Oh God!
I mean, I feel like that was kind of like there was almost like an afterthought. They were like, oh shit, we forgot to put Ghost in this episode.
We can just have him run into the
I know.
shadows
We
right
can just
away, and then he's
we can
out.
just CGI him right next to Jorah. No one will know the difference.
We can have 40,000 extras in Belfast. Where did they film this? They broke a lot of
Yes.
records for filming. and
Yeah, they
whatever,
did.
'cause there's
Apparently,
so
it took
many
like
people.
3 months to film this.
But you have to admit,
one
like,
episode.
It would be so fun to be an extra, right? Like, I mean, it would be super gross, but like, this is a thing. Like, these extras
It
were
would
part
be
of
fucking-
a big fucking thing.
Yeah, it
Like,
would be
that's
fucking
cool.
awesome.
That's
Hell
cool as
yeah,
heck.
absolutely.
I liked that the X's worked really well inside the yard and outside the X's.
Yep.
The little like war machine.
Yeah, the staunches, I think they're
Yeah,
called.
that had
They're
all
like
the
the
obsidian.
dragon glass. Yep. Yeah,
That
that was
was
cool
really
to
good.
see, like the zombies run into them and then like kind of explode.
Yeah,
that was
And
kind of cool.
I am here for that hellfire. I get that a lot of people like the memes were great with people like squinting or like my favorite part of this week's episode of Game of Thrones and it's just pure black. Like
Black.
that's yeah. So I am here for those, but the experience of the moment felt like it was scary. I was afraid
Yeah.
for Arya when she was in that library.
Yep.
You know, in my head, I'm like, calm as still water, you know, quick as a snake. Like I'm chanting this stuff. You know, Kirsten's doing this thing where she is having a drawn out 80-minute long panic attack.
Panic
so
attack.
like she's kind of like an animal. Like she's got her phone in one hand and she's sitting. So she's like watching the show out of her peripheral vision, but she's like scrolling through Pinterest or something like on her phone or like reading about the Kardashians and like is paying attention but can't like fully pay attention but can't not and is squeaking every time something scary happens.
Wait, I don't
so-
get it. How do you watch this show but not watch the show?
So she couldn't she didn't spend the whole show this way, but like she had to put her focus somewhere else because it was so scary what was happening. And she was like, the real world exists. The real world exists. Because
Oh
it
my
was such a
God.
consuming, like the environment. We had all the lights off where, you know, it helps to watch it
Yep.
in the pure dark. But then
Yep.
every little heartbeat, every little moment, all of the blood and gore, the raining snow, which looks like ashes, and the bodies start falling, you know, from the walls once they scale Winterfell and the screaming and the guts and like, oh, the whole atmosphere of it was utterly engrossing. And as a person that loves the books and came late to the show, this is what I like about the show. This is why I'm having this drink tonight, like the salty, briny tears of all these butthurt fans. Like, this is what the show does, my friends. Like, this is why the show exists. You want satisfaction and clean storylines, go to the books.
Yeah.
And
No, that's a valid point. I mean, there's no Dorne here, right?
And I get that like Winds of Winter isn't out, but if you've only ever seen the show, oh, is there story for days. You have so much more you can experience
So-
from all these characters. Like they don't even have Ariana Martell. They
Do
don't
you
have
think-
any Dorne stuff. They don't have
Do you
any of
think-
the Reach stuff. The Iron
Do you think
Islands is
Ar-
better. Anyway, go on.
Do you
Sorry.
wait, let me try one more time. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. Do you think Arya kills the Night King in the book?
I do not. I don't think
Really?
I don't think hardly any of the stuff that happens in the show happens in the book. I think things like hold the door happens for sure.
Yeah.
But these people are in the wrong place at the wrong time. I will say that I think Ser Jorah makes
What do you mean? Everyone kind of coalesced back to Winterfell. I mean,
think there'll be. I think that there's going to be a big battle in Winterfell. I think this is where Winter fell the first time.
yeah.
I think it's going to be deeply satisfying. Geo Mormont, Jorah's dad, his dying wish in the books is that Jorah will come to the wall, will take the Black. The wish of a dying father is really important in story, and Jorah is now, outside of Dany. He's trying to get back in her good graces, but she may not take him back. And I think his path will lead him to the north for this kind of a fight. I think his family is up there. I think we'll see him in a circuitous way get there. I think a lot of this stuff with these characters could happen, but the Sansa storyline is a mess. It's not a 1-for-1. So for me, this is just pure fan fiction.
It's not a 1-for-1, but I mean, when it comes to the Arya storyline, it's very possible because
it is possible.
The last thing, first off, there's got to be some reason that she becomes this fucking awesome assassin, right?
Right.
There's no way,
for sure.
There's no way that her arc is she's a super assassin, and the last thing we see is her killing a Frey.
Yes,
and
then
and then
also there's something narratively beautiful about no one can kill the Night King. Maybe that's a nugget that they got from George. That she is no one, right? That works really, really well. So I could see it happening, but this is just pure fan fiction, my friend. This is goofy. Do you remember how the Night King got a flying dragon in the first place? We are beyond the ridiculous, my dude. We are just... But the show Cersei is really much better than the book Cersei is, and so that's good. But drunk Uncle Euron is not even close to crazy real Euron, who's going in...
Crazy book Euron is got a fucking Valyrian suit of armor,
and
that he thinks he's a fucking god, just running around worship me, Mad Max style.
Yes, he's a better analog for the Night King than we have anywhere else, because where is he going to attack? Do you remember where Euron Greyjoy is attacking when we see him in the Forsaken chapter?
It's Marine, isn't it? This is a Stumpin' Dave. I failed.
It is Old Town. He's on his way into Old Town to sack Old Town, and he's got his brother in the hold of the ship. Remember? Spoilers.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But if the three-eyed raven represents all of the knowledge that humanity has, is the memory of humanity. That's only one kid under a hill that nobody knows about. If you want to know something in Westeros, where do you go? You go to Old Town. You go to the Citadel. So if you want to destroy the memories of mankind, if you want to take apart civilization, if that's the kind of immortal bad guy clad in adamantium armor that you are, then you go and sack Old Town. That's what you do, and that's where he is. So I think that the books are going to offer a much richer and more heartbreaking tapestry of the kind of stuff that I fucking love about this. But what I want from the show is exactly what I got. I got Blue Fire Ice Dragon, Jon being ridiculous, Bran doing nothing, Theon being told he's a good guy for reasons.
I mean, come on, his redemption arc. I mean, it's...
You're not, provably false, Bran. Theon, you're not a good guy. You're just not, my dude.
Well, he is, though, right? I mean... Come on, he didn't actually kill fucking Bran and Rickon, right? I mean, he was in the jaws of the Kraken and was in a rough spot, so he, did his best, and he was conflicted, and then, PTSD to the extreme with Reek.
Yep.
And
he
so,
did save
but he
his
saves
sister.
He saves Sansa.
Yep. Escaped with Sansa, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of Sansa, Sansa Tyrion.
They had some. Did you think there was a moment my first watch through where I was like, are they gonna kiss? Did you have that thought?
They almost did, and then
they had that moment, right?
Tyrion kissed her hand.
He kisses her hand. They have that moment. There's
there's a good exchange where they're talking, and then Tyrion says something like, do you ever wonder what it would be like if we were still married or something like
Yes,
that? And
it's so
and
good.
Sansa goes, you were the best of them. And
I know.
and Tyrion goes, what a dreadful thought.
And he just, Peter Dinklage just kills me, right? Like,
Yeah.
her compliment to him and the way it sends a knife through him, and you can see it kind of ripple, and that smile, and him being like, oh, what a horrible thought. Like, she has his number. She's saying, quippy witticisms aren't going to make this any easier. Like, you can't, being clever isn't going to get us out of this. Like, we're down
right.
here. It's the end of the
We're
world.
down here. We're down here because this is the best we can do, which is nothing.
Yes, and you have to look a hard truth in the face, which is something Tyrion taught Jon when he was first bringing Jon up to the wall, at least in the books.
That's
Again, I haven't
right.
seen the show.
No, it happens in the show as well. Be proud of being a bastard, basically. You know,
don't you
That's what
have
it
to
says.
look the hard truth in the face, and here Tyrion is being reminded of something that he knows in his heart, but that he didn't want to look
That's
at.
a good callback. That's really well done, Tana.
Dabs.
Pat yourself. No, we don't. No.
Oh, I dab all the time, baby. Every time I finish.
You're not a 12-year-old playing Fortnite.
Dabs.
No.
And I learned this from my 12-year-old. Like, I learned this from my nephew Ethan, who is, I don't know, 6 or something, and he came home from daycare or school or something, and he dabbed, and it was, David, it was the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Do you know
small
that
person,
they're-
and so I've just been dabbing ever since, and every time I
Do you know
it,
they're teaching the kids now to
Yep, tell me.
dab when you sneeze? Because you sneeze into your,
Yep.
you
You're
put your
supposed to-
arm in
yep.
your face,
Yep.
sneeze into your arm.
Yep.
So there's like an acronym now that's like, dab to sneeze, but I don't know what it is. But
That's not, doesn't roll off the tongue, really.
well, it's like don't spread bacteria, even though it's not a.
Yeah.
It doesn't
No,
spell
I get
bad,
the idea.
You know
like
what I mean?
the kids are taught to sneeze into their elbow so that, because if you sneeze into your hands, you just get all those germs on your hands and you're touching everything.
Right.
You hardly touch anything with your elbows.
It's really terrible when schools are getting like ridiculous things to. Anyway, dab it. No, this is a dab-free podcast.
We've already filled our quota.
This is a dab-free podcast right here. All right.
Dabs.
No. Oh
Dabs.
God. No.
Dabs again. Speaking of in the crypts and Sansa, why wouldn't Tyrion and Sansa work? What is Sansa's answer to Tyrion?
The Dragon Queen.
That's right, because of your loyalties to the Dragon Queen. And then what happens?
And then Melisandre makes an awesome comment like, if it wasn't for the
Missandei.
dragon. Yeah, that's what I said. Mm-hmm. What did I say, Melisandre?
Yeah.
I meant Missandei.
Yep. Badass bitch right there.
If it wasn't for the Dragon Queen, we'd all be dead.
Yeah, none of us would have problems because we'd all be dead. And then she just gets up, she drops that fucking mic and she gets up and walks away from that nonsense. And girl, I'm with you. So
wait, so do you think Tyrion and Sansa get it?
I think that they had this moment of like, they see each other.
And that's it?
Yeah, I think this was a really beautiful moment. I don't think that they need a happily ever after. I don't think that they need to be married or anything like that. I don't think that's the eventuality. But there is definitely this moment, this satisfying moment of peace between these two characters. And I think that they played it really well. Sophie Turner
Yep.
is really talented. Like she's got that subtle acting that I love,
Yeah.
and they
I'm
shared a lot.
looking forward to seeing how she
in these
kills everyone in
glances.
Dark Phoenix.
I know. Oh, well, so I'm holding out hope that she's just gonna, pardon the pun, slay, because I'm so connected to that character that the Phoenix is so important to me as like a kid growing up and loving comics. Like the X-Men were my jam, and so I tend to be really precious about the things that I love. Which is why I wouldn't watch this dumb show for a long time. But I'm learning. I'm getting better. I'm like relaxing
so
about
proud of
shit,
you.
just as the rest of the world is like,
Look
oh
at you.
my
You're
god.
you're drinking the salty tears of all the haters, and you yourself were once a show hater completely and utterly.
I could have been the queen of the haters. Like change the
That's
channel.
right.
Oh, there was something. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's about the Kardashians. They were on at the same time, and Kim Kardashian said, "The Live with the Kardashians is, starting in 15 minutes. Remember to live tweet it." And someone was like, "Listen, Kim, people are dying in Winterfell right now," which is hilarious.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was so great, and so So Kirsten was like, "Get this." Anyway, so.
That's great. I think that.
I think this show is also fascinating because so many millions of people are coming together. The fandom, this you and I have this podcast because we both like the show and we played dodgeball together and we lived near each other. Kickball. I always want to call it dodgeball and it's always kickball.
Kickball.
And so we did the thing. We are connected. You and I are connected
That's
through
right.
this fandom. There are dozens of people that I follow on Twitter and whose lives I know about and whose podcasts I love and whose analysis I am,
is much better than ours.
We just bring the I loved it, suck my butt. That's the whole thing. That is all of it. But for
it's
people
2019, we eat ass.
All men.
Must drink. That's going to be the
salty
tagline
briny
for this
tears.
episode. It's 2019. We eat ass.
Oh my god. So Bran does nothing. Can we talk about how terrible this character? What was he doing the whole time? He just
I don't understand where he was.
He did nothing.
I also didn't understand what he was warging.
Why are you, so he's just flying the birds for a while? Does he go to a favorite memory? You're not.
Yeah, I don't know.
You didn't do anything. And Theon, right? You had a chance to just be hey, I saw something in the tree showed me that Arya is behind you or something. I'm not saying that he could have done that, but if Theon doesn't rush the Night King and just waits a minute, he lives, right? That's
maybe,
right? He didn't need to die. He just rushes and he screams.
But also if he
tells
Theon, then the Night King knows, and then the Night King's ready, and then the Night King doesn't have this.
But I don't know.
By the way,
wake up and then
scene.
Just start talking or something, Bran. Distract. But I guess let Theon, the good man, the provably false good man. I like that Theon got a redemption arc, but you didn't need to lie to him before he died. You could have just been you belong here. You're part of our family.
I don't think he lied to him. I think
you're okay.
Yeah. I think he's hey man, you're a good person and you're a good person in the end, and I appreciate that you're here standing in front of me, protecting me from
I'm just a boy standing in front of a girl.
That's right.
Talking about love. It just became like a Notting Hill moment.
Except they're both boys, and one of them has no cock.
But does Bran's work? They're just kind of...
I don't know.
I don't know. So they could just be brothers. Also, we're getting off track
Hashtag
here.
cripple, not impotent.
I was just going to say, where's Mira Reed? But then I remembered you told me that she's not in this season at all, so...
She left. The last time we saw her was last season, right? Where she got all butthurt because she was all like, "I'm leaving, Bran," and Bran's "It's okay, cool," and she's like, "That's it? That's all you have to say to me? Jojen died for you. Hodor died for you. I dragged you all the way back to Winterfell the Wall.
What is Bran?
And I didn't even kiss you.
What is he?
That's
even
it."
bringing? Why is Bran? Why is Bran? Okay, so
he's there. He's there to tell Sansa that she looked beautiful on her wedding night.
Right, fucking creep. Everything about this is I don't get. I get the idea of Bran. Why it would be important. I think practically, it is a swing and a miss over and over and over again. All men must drink. What else?
All men must drink. Oh, what else? What else did I really enjoy in this episode? Melisandre's. So let's talk about Melisandre a little bit more.
Let's do it. The red.
She shows up.
Like a ball.
Davos is fucking furious, right? But he lets her in. He sees that she can help, right? He swallows his pride a little bit.
No, he lets her in. So she lights up the shit, and then he lets her in with his hand on his hilt, running downstairs to chop off her head. Like, he lets her in so he can kill her.
Well,
that's right. Like, that's how I read that scene.
I don't know. I read it as he lets her in, knowing that he's going to go attack her, but he goes down there, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'll be dead before the dawn."
I know.
No need, Sir Davos.
And the whole thing, like, that it's early, the fighting hasn't really started yet. I don't think the Dothraki had rushed out yet. And so we're thinking, oh, God, this is, it is one of those things that helps set the tone of, like, no one is going to survive. This is going to be horrendous. But it hasn't yet started. And
then beautiful scene when she sees Arya again, right?
Oh,
she says,
good.
Arya goes, "I know you." And she goes, "I know you." Mm-hmm. And they have this this beautiful exchange, and she says, "You will close many eyes, brown eyes, green eyes, black eyes."
No, and then she just
blue
says,
eyes
and blue eyes.
Yeah,
it's like in that
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
We run into her as a reprieve after seeing. So I didn't get this. So I got this on the second watch. Beric Dondarrion got stabbed a bunch when he's like he's got the two arms against the wall holding back the
cross.
Wall.
Yep, he's got like a little symbolic.
He's doing the
cross
Jesus
going
thing.
on.
He's doing the Jesus thing, and they even stab him in the side like Jesus. So like they get a lot of that religious imagery in here. But
and she says this great thing. She says, "The Lord brought him back for a purpose."
Yes.
And he served it, which was obviously to protect Arya.
Yes, and also, and I think I thought they were going to leave him in the hallway. Did you think that? Like, I thought he was just done. I thought it was a hold the door moment.
I agree. I thought that too. But they drag him back.
Yeah, and they all three of them kind of, Arya and the Hound fall into this room, this firelit room. Is that where we had the meeting? Where everybody drank all night? Is that the same room?
The Great Hall?
Is that the same room?
Oh, that room? I don't know.
There's
it doesn't
a big
look
fireplace, but I don't.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it. There's also looks like there's a bunch of dead bodies on the floor.
There are a ton of dead bodies.
So I don't know if this is like just somewhere else in the castle that they killed a whole bunch of people or what. But
yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. They drag Beric into this room. I think he sees Melisandre.
Yeah, and then we
lets out his.
Yeah,
he lets out like his soul.
We see like Sandor or Arya see Melisandre before we do, and they like look surprised because we haven't seen what the room contains yet. We just know what's behind them, and then they turn around and it's just dead bodies and the Red Woman in a fire, and she's just doing her same slow speed. She's like, Arya recognized her. Now, this was before my time on the show, so I've seen the online thing, or maybe they played it in the after, where they were like, she runs into her and says, "You're going to close many eyes. Yeah, I'll see you again." And then, so there's a fulfillment here of the, stuff that they set out to do in the books.
And then also, in the show. and then also she brings back, the Braavosi water dancer line, which is, what do we say to the god of death?
So this is when Melisandre rolls up to the castle first and sees the Unsullied and sees Grey Worm, she says Valar Mojitos, Valar Mojitos. Yeah, no. And he says
Valar Morghulis.
Yeah, and he says Valar Dohaeris.
Yeah,
and so
all men must die.
Yes,
all men must live.
Is it all men must serve?
Live?
All men must live.
All men must serve? Serve? What
are the words? All men must live, all men must die? Is that it?
No, Morghulis, I think, is death. I think it's all men must die.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's all men. Not every man really lives. It's my little Braveheart for you. It's the crossover. That's the crossover we need.
That's the crossover?
Yeah, for sure.
Valar Morghulis means all men must die. Valar Dohaeris is all men must serve. Yeah.
Must serve, right?
Serve, yeah.
All men must serve. Yeah, so they even have that call and response earlier in this episode, so we know what Arya's words are supposed to be. And then they, there's the three of them in the little trio, Sandor, Melisandre, and then Arya in the middle, like looking like a badass. And the Red Woman, they're banging down the door, and the Red Woman says, "What do we say to the god of death?" And like we close in on Arya to give us that line. You know that line?
Yeah.
You've been trained for that line. Valar.
She says it.
Morghulis.
No, she says not today.
I know. And so we're expecting her to say her words, and instead she says not today, and turns and fucking runs through all the dead bodies and all of the skulls.
What do you mean? What do you mean her words? She's trained to say not today. That's what she says.
She's trained to say Valar Morghulis, isn't she? Has she ever said not today before?
Of course, that's when she's training in Winterfell with the Braavosi water dancer. He says that to her.
Oh, does he?
He says what do we say to what do we say to the god of death? And then he says not today.
Does he say that? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Even in the books, that happens.
No, that doesn't happen in the books.
Yes, it does, Tana.
Okay, great. I want to be wrong about this.
Don't make me do this.
Please,
don't make me do this.
Yeah, please show that to me. No, I totally expected this to be her House of Black and White training, and I, as the audience that doesn't read too deeply into the show, clearly, was expecting her to say Valar Morghulis and fight death in a failing battle, as everyone is having a failing battle across the board, but that's not the case, David. And I thought she changed the script. I thought she flipped the script, but apparently she's just doing what her water dancer teacher taught her, which is also good and fine, I guess. Here's my question for you. Did Jon
Game of Thrones in the first book, quote,
Okay.
What do we say to the Lord of Death? Not
Okay.
today.
Okay, great. Well done, David.
I did it.
And 10 points to Gryffindor. Bling,
No,
bling, bling,
I'm a
bling,
Slytherin.
Bling, 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 bling.
I'm a
Damn
Slytherin.
it.
All right, nice try.
Damn it. Negative
Anyway,
5
so-
points from Slytherin.
So that's great. So we're talking about that scene.
Yep.
But then at the end, what does she do? She throws off her necklace
Oh, Melisandre, right.
and she walks into the snow.
Her job here is done. Did you see her little
And
spirit
she-
escaping?
Yep. She becomes the old person again
Yeah.
and then just dies.
When Kirsten and I were watching it, and she pulls it off. And, like, Davos followed her out, hand on his sword. Like, he was ready to kill that bitch. Like,
Yes,
he was
absolutely.
ready. But she just walks out into the cold morning of a dream of spring and pulls off her necklace. And as she's dying and getting older, I thought that was really, really great. But her dress like falls half off, so she loses her overcoat and is kind of not stripping on the way out, but is like undressing until she just has her red dress on and pulls off her necklace and drops that in the snow. And then as her body is like crumpling and getting old and withered, her like the top of her dress like falls down a little bit. And Kirsten said this, or I said this, and I was like, oh man, so on brand. She's stripping right up to the end. Melisandre's always getting naked. Oh man. So to the Red Woman.
To the Red Woman. To all that we've lost, right? The Red Woman, Theon, Dolores Ed.
Yeah, Dolores Ed.
Who else dies? The Dothraki. All the Dothraki.
all of the
Dothraki.
all of the brown people. So, yeah, the bravery of the
what the
Unsullied.
fuck?
Holy shit.
Grey Worm doesn't die?
I know. So I thought that the moment where he's looking back.
They set that shit up for him or Missandre to die. Like, that's the one thing you don't do is say...
He might still die, dude. They have other battles. They have to, like if everybody's dying, if, at this point it's just sort of a gore fest and everybody is dying except for our main characters, which for some reason the fandom is all up in arms about.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, because they're expecting the Game of Thrones treatment, right?
Yeah.
They're expecting that our characters are going to die. But in Game of Thrones fashion, in doing things that they don't expect you to do, everyone fucking lives.
Speaking of people that die and live, the Crypt Awakening was...
Yes.
If I have to pick a low point or like a thing where I was like, oh, that didn't go the way
that wasn't
that
as
I thought
impactful.
It
was not impactful. And I think
really
part
thought
of it
there was
too
going
is
to be
that
a lot more. There was going to be a lot more.
I was thinking about that, and I think only like the bodies that were still like composed enough.
So,
right? Because you got to remember, like,
however,
bodies from hundreds and hundreds of years are decomposed into nothing. So
some of them are going to be dust for sure, perhaps. There is a preservative effect of the cooler temperatures, number one, and it being in a sealed environment. Two, straight up muscle-less skeletons were assaulting the castle that very night. Like walking, like no flesh, no muscle to move the arms. I've made this complaint before. In order to like hold a sword, you need muscles in finger bones, right? Like you need to be able to flex your hand. You need to be able to move your arm.
I'm going to quote your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Do it.
In a world where there are dragons and old ladies who transform into hot ladies, the one thing you're worried about is fucking muscles on a skeleton.
So my point is, David,
I say that to the same people who complain that Sam is still fat. Like, come on, people.
There were fat people in medieval times.
Yeah,
whatever.
but their complaints are he spent, a month beyond the wall with having to hunt and find food. Yeah,
there are different body types. It's fine.
Yeah, in a world where there's magic and dragons.
And Sam,
in a world where you can cut a person's face off, put it on your own, and magically talk like them. You're worried about muscles on bones grabbing swords. Okay.
One of my favorite tweets was, 2008 or like whenever the show started. I don't fucking know. And it was like, Game of Thrones was a really low magic fantasy story set in like a medieval setting. Cut to today, a necromantic undead wizard is flying an undead dragon, breathing ice blue flames. Like that's just sort of the, this is the arc we've gone to. Very high magic fantasy here.
Very, very high magic fantasy.
Oh, it was so fun. It was so much fun. And it was scary. And I was like hanging on everything. And I think their pacing throughout it was really good. Like the quiet moments, the intense battle, and then pulling back and having that moment of exhaustion, having that moment of like, when they go tight on Sandor Clegane's burned face, like they zoom up and it's like basically
and
on
he's
his
doing
eye.
PTSD.
Yeah, and his like burned side of the face and the fire is roaring behind him. Like I'm in that moment, and you've got the snow and the ashes sort of trickling down, and everything is bathed in this hazy, claustrophobic, hellish light. That's how it's supposed to be.
Are you a little upset that the Night King storyline is now kind of done? Like, I mean, were you expecting? I guess I was kind of expecting it not to be. End. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be such a quick. End. And I guess I understand from a storytelling perspective, like this is the final season. Like you got four episodes left.
Yep.
3 episodes left now, but like you need to close up like loose ends, right? Which is, you got to get back to Cersei at some point and deal with whatever the fuck she's doing.
Yep.
But I didn't think I don't know. I kind of thought that the series was going to end with maybe all of mankind kind of like wiped out and there being no more Iron Throne, right? I'm not necessarily saying that I believed the Night King was going to.
It's a real uplifting note, Dave.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. I didn't necessarily think that the story was going to end with the Night King sitting on the Iron Throne or anything like that, but I thought like the last episode like the Night King would die. Or something along those lines.
Yeah,
right?
I definitely, and they had me believing it got really bleak. Like I feel like I go into the show just sort of blank, right? Like I'm not trying to decode what the show is going to do or overly predict it. I will talk endlessly about what I like or what I would like to see or what I might see. Like that stuff is enjoyable for me, but it is worthless for me to try to scratch the surface of this show, knowing what the books are, knowing how deep and different the books are and how satisfying the books are for me. So this is just pure candy. So I am experiencing the show as they're delivering it to me, and I find that the choices they make as storytellers work. I believed that that hope was lost and that the Night King was going to win. And I did not see the Arya twist coming at all. I thought that Jon had spent the entire episode. I didn't see it coming at all, dude. And Jon is out there dancing with the dragon, and he has decided to make a suicide run. Like, Jon starts screaming in the ice dragon's half cut off face because he can't get past it to get to the Night King. Like, he's run past. He looked Sam in the face. His friend is about to die, and he decides not to help his friend. Like, everything about Jon as a leader doesn't work for me. And I get that it works for a lot of people and they're like bros or whatever, but like Jon doesn't do it for me. And him looking at Sam, maybe Sam was like holding his own. He also saw Brienne. I think it was just a way for them to let us check in on these characters. But his single-minded quest to get through to the Night King was about to end in abject failure. He was about to get roasted by that dragon. So all hope is lost. And the Night King is doing the Bond villain, like slow roll.
Interesting too. The Night King is, and this is something that I really think worked well for the way it ended, which is Arya sneaking up on them.
Yep.
But the Night King is actually very smart, right?
Yeah.
He knows
there's an intelligence for sure.
He definitely does not want to fight Jon one-on-one. He doesn't. He saw Jon kill another other, like with his Valyrian steel sword. He knows that that's a real possibility, and I think he knows that if he dies, right, all of his effort dies as well.
Yeah.
And so there's this great scene where, well, one, we think Dany's going to be the hero. She Dracarys flames him, and it doesn't kill another dragon flame doesn't kill another, I guess.
And it doesn't melt hide armor or leather or like, I'm sorry, dude. Like the stuff that's on him is not part of his body. He should be as naked as the day. I don't know.
I mean, unless he's got a magical, winter field around him, which he kind of does at all times. But anyway, again, in a world where there's dragons and we're talking about an undead necromancer.
The only other time we had another like inferno like this that someone survived was Dany when she birthed the dragons, and Dany walks out of that naked as the day she was born, like, and her hair is burnt to a crisp, and there's 3 baby dragons on her, ashy, singed body that is somehow unburnt. So I'm sorry, but Night King, if there's gonna be some gender parity, David, then the Night King needs to roll up in his birthday suit, in his Nightwalker birthday suit, in his little icy underpants.
His dragon glass hammock.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but in that same scene, right after Dany, has to send the dragon away because he's getting mauled by thousands of little undeads. But Jon has an opportunity to take the Night King one-on-one, and the Night King has an opportunity to pull out his sword and fight. But does he? No, he just stops.
Up all Jon's friends.
Stops and raises everyone up and says, "Good fucking luck getting to me, motherfucker."
These are Jon's people, right? Like, these are the people he fought behind or beside or or didn't, but like, these are his friends. It's not just undead nobodies. These are the people that died in service to Winterfell and him, and they're coming back and they're coming for him. But holy moly, the plot armor on this guy. I was so annoyed by Jon's choices the entire time, and I get that it's a show, and I get that like that the dragons, but like, Jon, what are you doing? He's just going to run in there. He should have died immediately. Those were impossible numbers for him to have fought his way through. And everybody blaming
Dany came down to save him.
I know. She keeps having to save him. She keeps having to save him. She keeps having to save her own people. What does she see in this guy?
She sees that he has a claim to the Iron Throne and is probably going to kill him next episode.
No, good. I hope she does. I hope we see Jon Snow die. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We've already seen him die once, Tana.
He doesn't bring anything to the table. Dude brings and he like crashed his dragon. How many wargy animals are we going to allow this guy to have? The Westerosi coalition against Jon Snow.
Don't drink and dragon. Come on.
Don't drink and dragon. He crashed
Don't
Rhaegal.
drink and dragon.
I mean, come on, man.
Speaking of, is Rhaegal's alive, right? That's the last time we see him, but he's alive, right? He
was
runs
in the-
away, and
yeah,
he was in the
in-
coming next week, right?
Because I was like, oh, good. Did he get 2 dragons killed? Isn't it enough that you got 1 dragon killed, Jon? I guess we're just going to keep giving you chances for some reason.
No, Drogon's still alive, too.
You're a real great leader.
I did really think that Drogon was a goner, though, when all those undeads were crawling on him and stabbing him, but he gets away, so that's good. And
in the Dance of the Dragons, that's how they kill some of the dragons, is that they get overrun by not zombies, but like people completely gone mad, but in huge numbers to overwhelm dragons.
Yeah.
So it's a real possibility, and I was afraid. Also, I was afraid when Dany was out there surrounded
Alone?
by the zombies. Yes. And then, Jorah comes in and I'm like, okay, this is going to be Jorah's heroic moment. And he does get stabbed a million times. But I was afraid for her. I was really like, how the fuck is she getting out of this? Especially knowing how things were going inside the castle, which is not good. And the show did its job for me. And so I think it is hilarious, and these sour tears are so good for me, because I was like, I unabashedly enjoyed the hell out of this episode, and I'm not afraid to say it.
So let's wrap it up by going over who's still alive and who's dead.
Great.
Okay.
Yep. Jaime and Brienne are still alive.
Jaime and Brienne's still alive. Tormund still alive.
Is he? Do we know that that's confirmed?
We don't know it's confirmed, but it's not confirmed that he's dead, so I'm putting him in the alive category.
Ghost is alive. Rhaegal
Ghost is alive. Rhaegal's alive. Drogon's alive.
Yep, that the puppers are alive. Oh, Drogon had like a little cuddle session with Dany.
Yeah, at the end. That's right. Once Jorah died.
Can we just talk about the Arya moment? When she jumps behind the Night King and is
beautiful
about to
cinematography too.
It's
you see
wonderful.
her face just come out of darkness, and then
and she's
slowly,
got the dagger, and he just turns and catches her by the neck, and catches her arm.
And she does the move that she did on Brienne. She drops the dagger, catches it in the other hand.
Her open palm, that open semicircle palm, frames his ice blue eye in this moment that is just, it is just perfect. And the dagger falls down, and we're looking up at him, the Night King holding Arya by the neck, thinking this is the very end. And she catches the fucking cat's paw dagger and jams it into his little halter top. Yes, kill him.
Yep.
And he dies.
He turns the glass, shatters into a million pieces, and everyone else falls.
Question. So there are also questions that are never answered, which could be part of our wrap up. I'm sorry to derail our wrap up.
No.
I'm gonna do the questions.
This is what we do.
Answered.
Literally, we jump into tangents. This is what we do. So. Yeah.
One tangent after another tangent.
Tangent.
The
Two tangents
the
coming
whites,
to
the
try
Nazgul.
to wrap it up.
Do we
tangent.
ever learn if they're actually Craster's kids? Are those the Craster babies? That
they have to be.
So
they have to be.
That makes Gilly mother of Nazgul.
Mother of White Walkers.
Yep.
Potentially.
So, but we don't know. So that's never confirmed. It's never confirmed if the Night King was a Stark, or, as the internet has gone aflame, a Targaryen, since he did not burn. It could be just magic.
That's bullshit. No, that's bullshit. He was not a Targaryen. He was a fucking Stark. Come on. He was.
I like that there are questions. I like that they didn't over-explain what the Night King is, or this, I think it's good that they let it just be this. I think this is a fine way to do it. But those are some of the questions that didn't get answered for me. Lyanna Mormont dies. I did not, I got that one wrong. I thought she was going to live, and she didn't. We did get it right on Jorah and Dolorous Ed. They both bit the big one. And Beric. Yep. Dany and Jon survived to see another day. Rhaegal. All the puppers also survived.
All the puppers survive. Who else
Missandei
survives?
and Grey Worm.
Missandre and Grey Worm both survived.
Lived.
Very surprising, in my opinion. I did not see that one coming. I really thought that they hard killed them, sentenced them to death.
Probably. So in the big battle with Cersei, we're going to have to lose people that we care about. So I think that's what's happening here. I think it's too much blood and gore in this battle. There's so many dead people and undead people that like the main characters survive, and that makes sense because the story doesn't end at the end of this episode. We have 3 other fucking episodes to get through, including Bran somewhere with a crossbow.
Yep. We need maybe that's the surprise death that we don't see coming is Bran showing up somewhere and just on the road just putting a bolt in Tyrion. I don't think that would happen. Like, I don't know. Book Bran to me is so much more loyal to Tyrion. You know, like
the open question remains: how does Cersei die? Does Jaime kill her as a Valonqar? Does Tyrion kill her as a Valonqar? Does Arya kill her as a faceless man because she's on her list? Yeah. Did she survive? Maybe Cersei might survive and I don't know, rule for 1,000 years. Who the fuck knows? Drunk Uncle is still in the mix somewhere.
Uncle, the Golden Company is still in the mix somewhere.
And there's only, so in not reality because this is all like absurd, but in reality, it would take months, a year to even clear out Winterfell from the dead and the dying and the healing, and like people are hurt. There's bruised ribs. Like there's stuff
maybe
that
we'll get a
SpongeBob.
Maybe we'll get a SpongeBob episode, and it's like 12 years later.
Maybe are we gonna see? Here's my question for you, Dave. Are we gonna see a time jump in next week's episode? Is it gonna be like X amount of time later because people would have fucking broken ribs and broken bones and collapsed lungs and all this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think obviously some time will have passed. The question is it going to be closer to what would be more believable, like a week, 2 weeks, or is it going to be like 3 months or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's going to be like 2 weeks.
We know it could take up to a month to march an entire army from King's Landing up to the north. So, if they're coming with 20,000 men, in the Golden Company, it's not going to be instantaneous.
Right.
So
there are still 2 dragons in case there's another army at Winterfell, but but logistically it doesn't make sense that they would have another battle at Winterfell, right?
Right.
So you have all these dead and wounded, a broken castle, a broken realm, like gore for days, people recovering, like even just like there's just the recovery effort would be massive, but that's boring television. So 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 I don't even know. This is the thing. I'm going into next week as a blank slate. I'm only spending this much time thinking about it, and then you can just give me the show and I will process it.
I think they're going to go south, right? We saw the coming next week spoilers, she says,
Cersei,
we won the Great War. Now we have to win the last war.
Dany is looking like a queen regent. If you are a Westerosi person, noble, who do you align with? Like, who's your person?
This is a great question because I think the North is going to really, I don't want to say side with Dany, but they definitely respect her a lot more now, right?
I think their survival to her, but they still value their independence.
They still value their independence, and I think it comes out that Arya was the one who killed the Night King, right? So it's gonna be kind of like one of those, like, the Starks are still the fucking protectors, right? They're the kings. They're the ones who killed the Night King, the real issue, right? So I think that's important. So if I'm a Northern man, I think I still align myself at this point with Jon. As much as he's not really
not
an interesting
Sansa with Jon.
Well, I think, I think there's going to be a time when Jon, I think, does one of his brooding city hall talks, and he says, "Lords, I am no Stark. I am Aemon Targaryen, and I bequeath my kingdom to Sansa."
I don't think We only have have 3 episodes, right? And there's still the Cersei issue, and then there's the issue of, like, do we even
of the
know?
North, freedom.
But do we know if Jon and Dany are good with being relatives? Like,
no, we don't know that. I mean,
that's a question that we don't know. We can't assume the answer
the last
to that.
episode before the battle, right? They get all pissy, and then like as soon as they're about to like maybe kiss and make up or something goes on, you hear 3 horn blows.
Yep.
So I mean, and then this time, they're definitely still fighting together, and she definitely still saves him.
And he definitely still abandons her when he's like, hey, the castle's over here. Oh, you're lost? I won't get in front of you and do a thing with you and make sure you know where it is. I'm just going to peace out and disappear behind you.
Yep.
And then you'll be lost in this snowstorm. And unless Melisandre gets that ring fire going, like if I'm Dany, I'm thinking, I wish this guy was called Drogo.
I think that was good improvisation by Grey Worm's point at that point,
Yes.
because Melisandre was not supposed to be there to light the fire, right? The plan
Grey
was
Worm is so brave.
was wave the sticks, right? Wave the torches, and then they come down and the dragons light the trenches. And Grey Worm's like, shit, that's not happening. Melisandre made fire. Okay, red wedding, red woman, come.
And at that moment, like, Grey Worm is such a brave dude. I thought that he was abandoning his people, which didn't work. Like, I don't understand military tactics or whatever. Like, I don't know what he was doing, but apparently it was the plan that he's leaving his men out there to die and to hold the retreat. And he's looking at them and knowing that they're all going to die. And he goes into the castle, and he's also been fighting his heart out. And so he's exhausted, and he has like PTSD, and he has this like, I don't want to go back out there. But he sees that if he doesn't, then their cause is lost and they have to light the fire. And there's this moment of him just like breathing really fast and sort of having, this panic, and then like getting his shit together and then ordering that little square of Unsullied out to protect Melisandre while she is trying to light the fire, to like go back out there against all those raving, like you saw the World War Z waves of zombies coming over. Like, it takes an impossible amount of bravery to don your helm and go back out into that when you have these castle walls between you. Oh, there was just so many beautiful moments like that. That's what I want for my TV. And I think they delivered it in spades. And I love that Arya was the hero. And I love that Sandor got his shit together for her. And all these character moments that every time we checked in on Jaime and Brienne, they were killing each other and checking up on each other and saving each other over and over and over again.
They were killing for each other.
Oh, le petit mot. So yeah,
I think on that note,
excited.
I think on that note, we have to just end and just say, super excited to see how the last 3 episodes of Game of Thrones on HBO turn out.
I mean, are you enjoying? Excuse me, I'll make this drink. Are you enjoying this season?
I am absolutely enjoying this season so far. I think, I do feel it's like things are happening very fast compared to the rest of the seasons, compared to everything that we've seen so far, which happened, at book pace, right? We're now seeing this incredible, like, sped up of, all right, we're gonna fight the Night King. Oh, the Night King is dead now. Okay, we're gonna fight Cersei. Someone's gonna die, right? Like, they're very much picking up the pace, and I think I don't want to say that they got lost in the content, but I think they got lost in the content because there's so much fucking content. And then finally, at one point, they're like, all right, we can't keep doing this until we're like 100. Yeah. So we need to
for sure
wrap it
lost
up.
their way. I think that this is the pinnacle of the season. This is the apex. This was the great fight. And I think the rest is just cleaning up and settling in.
It's so interesting that they do that at like the beginning of what I would consider the beginning of this season, right? I mean, yes, the first 80-minute episode of 3 more, right? Of 4 total. But yeah, this, I think you're right. This is the apex, and now it's as they say, it's all downhill from here.
Amen, brother. Ladies and gentlemen,
nerds and neckbeards. Thanks for listening to
us.
this awesome episode.
This wonderful, exhausting, we made it through Hellfire and saw the dawn of a new day episode.
Do you think winter is finally leaving? Do you think the Stark's new words are winter is gone? Or winter has fallen?
They're going to be like, it's going to be hard to rebuild this castle. Like, that's going to be the words for a couple generations. That dragon just blew through it, man. It smells like dead people might also be there.
It smells like dead people.
It's going to be pretty pungent up there for a while, I think. They need to make some piles and just let Drogon and Rhaegal turn it into charcoal for a while. All men
must drink. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a good night.
And stop.